grand perception of their lives. Okay, that aside. So then we have the angels come visit Avraham Avinu. Now we're told the menu that he gives them. And the menu is a very interesting one because there is basar and chalav. Actually, I'm going to say that differently. There is chalav, there is milk, and there is basar. Now, when you study to become a rabbi, you learn the laws of basar b'chalav, meat and milk. That's like one of these, a number of things you study, and they're classic things you study. On my rabbinical program I did, I won't tell you how many years ago, but on my rabbinical program that finished in the year 2000, literally the year 2000, what we ended up having to do was learn the laws of meat and milk. And this is one of the stories they come to. Why do they care about this story? Because Avraham Avinu is giving meat and milk to his guests. The fact the Torah hadn't been given yet, the fact that the guests were angels and don't have to keep the laws of kashrut is immaterial. They seem to look at the story and learn, I found it very unusual, but this is what the rabbis do. So they try to figure out how could he give his guests meat and milk. Okay, so they say, well, Avraham Avinu knew Torah. He knew that right now it wasn't forbidden, but he kept the laws of the Torah that he could keep. So he kept meat and milk, and therefore he wanted to give that to his guests, but in the right order. So he gave them milk first, and then he gave them meat afterwards. It wasn't meat and then milk. That's one answer. Another answer is that's why he stood with them and he served them to make sure they didn't mix the meat and milk. These are interesting rabbinic discussions. But I want to tell you something very Kabbalistic that comes with this, okay? And it goes like this. Who are these angels? 3 angels with different missions, because each angel at that moment has a special tafkid that is unique to them. So the angels that came to visit him were Michael and Gabriel. Michael and Gabriel were the 2 angels. Now, when we studied the book of Daniel a couple of summers ago, we spoke about the difference between them. Michael and Gabriel. Who did we say is considered greater out of those 2 angels? Anyone who remembers from those summers ago? Yeah, I don't think you would. That's okay. So of the 2, Michael is considered greater. Gabriel, you thought Gabriel is Gibor. But Gabriel is, whatever this means, a slightly lower level than Michael. Gabriel is Gibor, and he comes from the left side. And the left side in Kabbalah always represents din, judgment. That's the left side. The human body, if you look at a diagram, if you could, or you can imagine it, it's split down the middle. It goes right through the tongue, down the entire body. The left side is gevura, strength. And the right side is rachamim, chesed, mercy. That's why, for the most part, we do mitzvah with our right hand, they say. I just performed the chuppah, just telling the people, a couple of guys beforehand, and I did a beautiful wedding in the most stunning location I've seen in Israel, called Chavat Ronit. Those people who know, it's like 30 minutes out of Tel Aviv, near Herzliya, wherever. It's a farm, and it's just, you know those like videos you've seen of those outdoor weddings in Israel? It was one of those. So I wasn't just a guest, I was performing the wedding. So we have a custom, many customs when it comes to weddings. But one of the customs is that the ring is given with the right hand, put on the right forefinger. But also when you step into the chuppah and when you leave the room on your way to the chuppah, you go right foot first. That is not halakha. That is minhag, that's a custom. And the reason why we do that is to show that the right foot always represents chesed, and we want this marriage to be based upon chesed. So he steps into the chuppah with his right foot, he leaves the room on his way out of where you signed the ketubah, which had to be rewritten, long story, out with his right foot, and that's the way you do it, to say I'm starting on the right foot. We even say it in English, right? So the right always represents mercy. Michael is on the right. Gabriel is on the left. We're not saying the Gabriel is bad, or the left side is bad. It's a necessity, but it's considered to be gevura, right? Gabriel, gevura, strength, harshness. Here's the interesting part. The Kabbalah, the Zohar says that actually he offered them milk and meat for that exact reason. Because milk and meat that we Jewish people do not mix together and even wait between eating one after the other. Actually, according to the Zohar, which we did not go like, you have to wait 1 hour between milk and meat and meat and milk, both ways. And we didn't go like that. Interestingly enough, the wedding I did was of a family from Amsterdam. They actually do wait 1 hour from meat to milk, okay, but not the other way around. The rest of us, the other halacha is 6 hours. Most people are in the 6th hour. Some Ashkenazim, some German Jews do 3 hours. 1 hour is actually really the basic halacha. So if I always tell people, if they're just starting out, start with 1 hour, then you can build up. Okay, but generally speaking, 6 hours is how the Shulchan Aruch rules over here. Why? Why do we make such a big deal out of milk and meat? And the answer is, I don't know. It's a chok. It's a statute. It's a law. The laws of kashrut, and this falls within it, are laws that we do not know. There is no rationale for them. Yet we get clues. We get some clues, and it's kind of based upon or found in this story over here. So the guests come to him in the form of, the angels come to him in the form of passing traders. And one is actually Michael, and one is Gabriel. There is an opinion that Avraham Avinu actually knew they were angels, but said, if they're going to get dressed up for me, I'm going to play the part. So I'm going to just treat them as other normal guests. And that's exactly what he does. And he says, you could take milk or you could take meat. And Michael took the milk, and Gabriel took the meat. That's what the Zohar says. Because the two don't mix. Why not? And why is Michael Mr. Milk and Gabriel Mr. Meat? What's the difference between milk and meat? And by the way, the laws of basar b'chalav, meat and milk, are very, very strict. Very strict. You are actually allowed to, technically speaking, sell non-kosher food and benefit from non-kosher food. You're allowed to do that. If you want to, you can. If you want to sell non-kosher chicken, actually a lot of the kosher slaughterhouses do that. They end up with an animal that becomes treff, right? They found a lesion in it or was killed badly or something. You're allowed to sell it. Without selling it to non-Jewish companies, they won't make any money, right? Because the non-Jewish world is a much bigger market. So that's what they do. But let me tell you something interesting. There's something unique about meat, milk, and meat. Kosher milk and kosher meat, to be specific. And that is, not only can you not eat it, you cannot cook them together. There's no achil, there's also no bishul, even if you're not going to eat it or sell it. But you also can't sell it even if you don't make it or eat it. 3, you cannot get any benefit from it whatsoever. No hana'ah. You cannot start a business selling milk and meat cooked together. Now, most milk and meat in America is non-kosher meat, so we may not fall onto this. Ironically, one of the few places in the world you'll actually see real doraita, Torah level milk and meat, kosher, put together, cooked together, is in Israel, unfortunately, some parts of Israel. Although Baruch Hashem, I've seen a change over there, and that is. But if you see on your menu basar lavan, leave the restaurant. Okay, that's okay. We'll leave that aside. What kind of meat that's referring to? I think you'll be able to guess what that is. Okay, so why are the laws of milk and meat so strict, more than all the other areas of kashrut? So again, we don't know, but the Kabbalah says the following fascinating idea. What does meat represent? Where does meat come from? A dead animal. A dead animal. It's got blood in it. The blood has to be removed. So meat represents death, because that's where the meat comes from, right? If it's not dead, you can't eat it. Even according to the non-Jewish world, according to the laws of Noach, they can't eat the limb of a live animal. So you have to kill it. Once you kill it, you're eating from death. It's acceptable. It's understandable. It's a post-flood thing. Before the flood, everyone was vegetarian. After the Mabul, we were allowed to eat it. But it's not the best thing. It's a mitzvah now on Shabbat. On holidays, of course, you want to have it and you're allowed to enjoy meat. But it still comes from death. Milk represents life. It comes from a living being, right? How a mother feeds a baby. How animals feed their young. So milk represents life. In some way, says the Kabbalah, when you mix it together, you're mixing life and death, and that's not a good thing. That's what the Zohar says. It's not a good thing. So what was Avraham Avinu doing, serving both milk and meat? So they say he was trying. He was actually forecasting that milk and meat should be separate. They were served separately, no doubt about it. But he was making a point at that time saying, I want to be able to synthesize both together. I want to pull together Michael and Gabriel. I know they're two separate beings. And one is Gevurah, strength, the right side. And one is mercy, left side. And one is mercy, the right side. But I'm able, and he was able at that moment, whatever this means. This is what the Kabbalah tells us, to synthesize both together. That is what Avraham Avinu was attempting to do, and he was successful. He was able to create an area of life where milk and meat, as it were able to synthesize together, i.e. strength and... Do you know who represents that synthesis? Which one of the Avot represents the synthesis of those two worlds? Yaakov Avinu, very good. Yaakov is going to represent those two worlds of Chesed and Gevurah put together. We know that Avraham Avinu in the end was Mr. Chesed because he's inviting all these people into his tent and schlepping around with his wife Sarah, making food. So he is Mr. Chesed. But from Chesed, which is all Chesed, it's just like icing on the cake. That created a Yishmael. Yitzchak was a Gevurah. He was all strength. That's just too harsh. There's no icing on the cake. There's no flavor to it, as it were. So he had an Esav. Yaakov is the synthesis of both together. So if you like, Avraham Avinu is the thesis, Yitzchak is the antithesis, but Avraham Avinu was able to see there is a way to synthesize both, and that becomes Yaakov Avinu, and from Yaakov comes all the Shvatim, all of the tribes, the entire Jewish people, in their totality, are going to come from Yaakov. So in the end, you'll see among the Jewish people, the Chesed people, you'll see the Gevurah people, and there are some unique people who, and I've met such people, are able to synthesize both. Able to be Gevurah people, and they have to be, and able to be Chesed, Rachamim people, merciful people, when not. And sometimes it takes a husband and wife. One is Gevurah, and one is Chesed. And if you ask most children, which one of your parents was strict? Most of us say like, my father was strict, my mother was doing. My mother was strict, my mother was. They usually say they ended up kind of like featuring both roles in how they dealt with it. Okay? So that is Avraham Avinu, that is milk and meat, and that whole story has inside it the seeds of the future of the Jewish people, able to have both of those aspects in their